Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are all well. So in today's video I will be transforming my dad's old clothes. He was doing a clear out as you do during quarantine, so I quickly nabbed some pieces before he threw everything out, and these are the things that I chose. So I'll be showing you guys how I went from this to this. So let's just get started. So to start off and to figure out what I wanted to do with my dad's clothes, I went to Pinterest as you do and just decided to find some inspo of what I liked and what I wanted each piece to look like. So I decided on turning my dad's old tops into these patchwork Instagram, Pinterest style tops that I've been seeing everywhere since lockdown and quarantine. I know this is a pretty old trend, but I wanted to try it out because I haven't done it before and I really like the way these tops look. And then for the brown bottoms that I got from my dad as well, I thought I would turn them into these bleached looking trousers that I saw on the Off-White website. These are £400 jeans, and as soon as I saw those I was like, no, we gonna DIY those. So to start off with, I'm making a pattern for my patchwork top. So in order to do this, I just grabbed a top that I already owned and I'm just tracing over the top of it with my cross and dot pattern paper. And as you can see, I'm just tracing around it. I'm trying to get as close as possible, as obviously the paper isn't see-through, and I can't see exactly where all the lines are, but I'm just kind of trying to make a rough estimate of where everything is. And I'm using my pattern curve tool in order to do this. You don't have to have this specific tool, but it is very helpful if you do. And then I just repeated the same thing on the sleeve of the arm. Again, just tracing around it, making sure I was as close to the line as I could get. So once I was finished with my sleeve pattern piece, I decided to add my seam allowance. As you guys can see from the video, I'm adding 1 centimeter seam allowance, but in the end I decided to change my mind and just do half a centimeter seam allowance instead, as that's the width of as far as my zigzag can go, but you'll see that later on in the video. So once I was done with my sleeve pattern piece, I added my seam allowance, and then I just kind of measured it up against the top half of my pattern piece just to make sure the sleeve would fit inside the armhole. And as you guys can see, the armhole of the top is a little bit off, so I'm just adding a few more inches to the side. Should be safer than sorry. I'd rather have more fabric to work with and then just cut it away than have less. So I'm literally just lining up the curve of the arm and then just adding a few more centimeters to the side of the top. So I cut out my top pattern piece, but stupidly forgot to cut it on the fold in order for it to be one whole piece, so I only got half. So I had to use some more pattern paper and stick it down in order to make a whole pattern piece. So I stuck it down on the fold of another piece of pattern paper, and then I'm just drawing around that and cutting that out in order to have a whole piece. So once I had my top pattern piece, it was now deciding on where I wanted my patchwork design to be and where I basically wanted all the horizontal and vertical lines. So I just grabbed my laptop really quick and then tried to find some inspo of ones that I liked, and then I just got my ruler and started drawing lines of where I kind of liked the look of, and then you kind of end up with this weird like jigsaw puzzle looking thing. And then once I was done with that, I just got my scissors and cut it all out. And then once I was done with that, I had to add the seam allowance to all these singular pattern pieces. So in order to do that, I just used all the scrap pieces of pattern paper that I was using before, and then I added half a centimeter seam allowance again around all the pieces. So once I was finished, I had something that looked like this. So in order to make sure I didn't get confused, I numbered my pattern pieces and made sure that I did a arrow pointing downwards so I wouldn't sew the pieces upside down. And then I just decided on my contrasting color of stitch that I wanted for the zigzag, and then I decided to pin all my pattern pieces on to my dad's top. So I did the sleeve with pins, but then I decided to tape the top pattern pieces down onto the existing top, as that was a lot easier as I was like doubling up the fabric, because I wanted obviously twice the amount of pattern pieces, so I had enough for the front and I had enough for the back. So once I was done sticking down all my pattern pieces, I went and grabbed my scissors and cut everything out. And then once I did that, I was deciding in what order I would attach all the pieces. So this is the order that I decided to do them in order for them to fit properly, like a jigsaw puzzle basically. And then I just went to my sewing machine, turned my dial to the zigzag stitch and zigzag stitched all my pieces together. And then once I'd finished doing the top half of the piece, I went on to do the sleeve. Once I had done the sleeve, I turned my sleeve right sides together. I'm doing air quotes for this, guys, because obviously technically this top is inside out. So I'm doing it right sides together and then inserting the sleeve into the armhole and then pinning all the way around and stitching again with my zigzag stitch. And then once I'm done with that, I just pull my sleeve back out the other way around and I was finished my top. Moving on to my dad's trousers, in order to create this bleached effect that I saw online, I will be taking a paintbrush of my choice. I decided to just use this one. This jar that I use to put water in when I do painting, and bleach. You will need a lot of it. And if you really don't want to ruin your clothes, make sure you grab an old t-shirt or just a t-shirt you really don't care about. I just grabbed this one because I dyed my hair in this t-shirt. And yeah, we're gonna go to the bathroom. So taking the trousers, I'm just laying them flat down into the bath. Try and ensure that there is no water in the bath, because obviously the bleach won't attach to places where there's already water. So I just take my jar and pour some bleach into the jar. I don't want to go ham and put a lot right now because I really don't know how much I'm going to need. So I'd rather just do less and then just keep adding more if I do need it. And then I just kind of dunked my paintbrush in and kind of went to work. I really didn't really know what I was doing, guys. I kind of was just like freehanding it. The picture kind of made the bleach look like bark of a tree. So that's kind of the effect that I was trying to go for by just kind of dragging the brush back and forth along the trousers. And then I would kind of drip some of the bleach as well and kind of let it like drizzle down the front of it. And yeah, I kind of just went ham. I felt like a little kid in school again, just basically doing arts and crafts. So I really enjoyed this. I was doing this at 2 a.m. But anyway, once I was done with the front, I just flipped my trousers over and repeated the same step again, grabbing my paintbrush and just kind of drizzling the bleach / splashing / everything. So once I was done, I had something that looked like this. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I forgot to tell you guys that once you're finished with doing it, you should rinse it with cold water just to get off all the excess bleach and then throw it in the wash like a normal wash. So while that was in the wash, I decided to make another patchwork top out of the brown top that was my dad's. So I decided to do that with obviously the pattern pieces that I made the night before for the cream top. And then in order to do the back, I decided to change my mind and actually use the pattern piece that I made in the beginning that I forgot to cut on the fold. as the front and the back pieces are exactly the same. So I decided to just use that as my back piece instead of cutting out all those different pieces in order to make the front and the back the same. Hi guys, so it's me. So this is basically how the top turned out. As you guys can see, this is all the excess fabric that was in my bin, and I decided to stick it on to the top, but I don't really know if this is a good idea, because obviously if I want to wash it, I don't know how this is going to wash, because I just thought the top was just a bit too plain. I still have the bottoms to do. I still have to take them in. They're still humongous, but I bleached them. That's done. So I was thinking of bleaching the top, but I don't know. I didn't want it to be like too crazy with too much bleach, so I thought it would be nice to have a different type of texture. Zoom out a little bit. But I'm really not sure what to do, guys. I really don't know. I really like it. It's like really artsy and I love it. So I'm going to test out some of these scraps with bleach and just see what it looks like and decide. So in the end, I decided to do a poll on my Instagram to basically help me decide whether or not to attach those pieces of thread to the top. So while I was waiting for the feedback for that, I just went onto the trousers and started to take them in. I just used some excess fabric to tie it at the back in order to see how I wanted it to be. So that's basically what that piece of string is at the back. So in order to do this, I'm just going to seam rip open the waistband and down the back crotch of the legs. Once I finished seam ripping everything open, I dried them on inside out, and then I just got my mum to basically pin the trousers around my bum because I literally could not do this by myself. I kind of had a rough idea of where I wanted the line to be, but she got it spot on. So I basically just traced a line of where I wanted the stitch to be, and then I just basically sandwiched the back pockets and the seam at the back together, as I didn't really care for the pockets as I wasn't going to use them. And then once I finished sewing, this is what it looked like. And then all I had left to do was reattach the waistband. So I just had to decide how much obviously to cut away in order for it to line back up with that center seam that I have now made. So I just quickly kind of measured it to make sure I knew where to cut, and then I reattached it with my sewing machine. So once I was done with my trousers, the verdict came back for my top, and the majority won. Everyone said sew it on to the top. Basically, I asked you guys on Instagram, I asked you guys here on YouTube in the community section, so I really appreciate everyone that got involved and told me their opinion. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to get involved in more of my DIY videos in the future, be sure to go follow me on Instagram or keep a lookout on the community section on YouTube. But anyway, a lovely friend on Instagram DM'd me and said that I should hand sew it, so that is what I did. I was going to actually go to my sewing machine and do it, but obviously that would ruin the whole effect of it and it would make the thread a lot more chunky, so I hand sewed it down. This was the most tedious part of probably the whole entire video. This took me a hot minute, guys. I'm pretty sure I was hand sewing for a good 2 hours, I think, in order to preserve the way I liked the placement of the threads. I used some brown like cartridge paper. As you guys can see, I've pinned it at the top right hand corner of one of the squares. So I basically just pinned it on top of it so that when I took my top off, it wouldn't move all of the threads basically. So yeah, that is what I did. I hand sewed it all on, and then I was finally finished with all my outfits. So let's go see the before and afters, shall we?
It's that bounce right here. Check it out. FS Green, you do crazy, you know? Yeah. Hey, check it out. Where the ladies at? Yeah. Where the ladies at? Yeah. Where the ladies at? Where the ladies at? Where the ladies at? Check it out. Where the ladies at? Where the ladies at? Where the ladies at? Yeah. Where the ladies at? Where the ladies at? Where the ladies? Yeah, mama make it hot now. Mama make it hot now. Yeah. What I need. Where the ladies at? Is a pretty woman next to me. Yeah. Where the ladies at? Where the ladies at? Oh yes, yeah, what I need. Where the ladies at? Yeah. Is a pretty woman next to me. Where the ladies at? Yeah. Someone to truly understand, baby. How to treat your land. Oh yes, yeah, what I need. Go down, baby. Go down, baby. Go down.
So that was my video, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you haven't already. If you guys try out this DIY, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Birabelle. I'll leave my link for my Instagram down below. And other than that, I shall see you guys in my next video. Peace.